So I'm just going to get started by introducing Dr. Kurt Fizz. We're really excited to have him here. He's flown all the way from Fargo, North Dakota. So you may have seen that movie.
Yeah, you betcha.
He doesn't have an accent like that, but if you want to, if you like, you could probably put it on. Yeah, so he's flown all the way here, and we really appreciate it. He's been going around Australia and having a great time. So Dr. Kurt's interest is age reversal healthcare. He's a certified wellness consultant. He's America's top chiropractor from 2004, and he also was Who's Who America Young Professionals, and also Who's Who Young Americans. He's had a private practice from 1998 till present, and he did his degree at Palmer College of Chiropractic in '87. And when he was running his practice, he was seeing approximately 50 to 100 patients a day. So he's very well experienced in being able to, I guess, relate to people and communicate with them and help them with their health challenges. And we've also got a form there at the front, so if you would like a private consultation with Kurt for free, we are offering that tonight. If you put your details on the form, he will do a phone consultation with you. If you've got any issues or anything you would like to talk through, he'd be more than happy to help out. So hopefully that gives him a great introduction, and I want to thank, if everyone put their hands together.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Can everybody hear me all right? Yes. Okay, I hate microphones because I talk with my hands a lot. So can you hear this all right, Michael? Yeah. Is it coming through? All right, because we're videotaping, and what we're going to do is that we're going to make this available to all of you. Even the people that aren't here, they're going to have a copy of this that they can hand out to people. And so you don't have to worry about trying to write things down. You don't have to worry about trying to take pictures of the slides and things like that. Just, just pay attention, have fun, and that. One thing that the management told me to say is that if you hear like a woot woot sound, that means the place is on fire, and that's the fire escape. Right? I made him repeat that a couple times where he said woot woot, because I thought it was kind of funny sounding. What's that? You want to hear it again? That's what I made him do. But, Katie came up and told you all the things that I was able to do in my life, and you start thinking about it. Does any of that matter? Awards, how big your practice was, things like that. And if you're not on purpose in your life, does it really matter? And I think about like what I've done, and I was lucky. I really feel like I was lucky. I was when I graduated from chiropractic college, I was 25 years old. I figured out really early in my life that I really wanted to be in the business of helping people so they could live pain-free lives, stress-free lives, and that's what I got to do all my life. And like Katie said, 2004, I was selected as one of America's top chiropractors. And I thought, what a great award. 2007, I was riding my motorcycle, riding my Harley down the road, and a guy comes flying out of a stop sign and hit me at 65 miles an hour. Can you imagine? I didn't have a helmet on. I was one of those stupid guys that didn't wear a helmet. I had to look cool rather than protect my head. And when he hit me, next thing I know, I'm waking up in a hospital 4 hours away. I was in a coma, and the orthopedic surgeon, he wanted to cut my right leg off. And he said if I had just been a regular patient, I wouldn't even have the choice. They would have already cut my leg off. While I was in a coma, they would have cut it off. But they said because I was a doctor, they gave me that choice. Do I want to keep it or not? I mean, and it really made me think, because all I'd done my whole life was a chiropractor. I'd never had a job. I'd never worked for anybody. I mean, can you imagine? All of a sudden now, here I am. In my mind, I'm thinking, I'm a pirate. I don't have my right leg. I was a single father. I had 3 teenage boys at home, and I stayed with Shar and Trevor last year, and Shar found out that I like sweets. Had some pav and some apple pie and things like that. So I had patients that would come in that couldn't afford to pay their bill, so they'd bring me apple pie. That's how they'd pay their bill. So I got to be a fat chiropractor. I didn't get to be a wealthy one. And so when I got my motorcycle wreck, I had to decide, what am I going to do for the rest of my life? I mean, I knew that I wasn't going to go back to my office. I just knew that wasn't going to be something that was going to happen. And so I started looking at this industry, at the network marketing industry. I'd never been in network marketing before that. I'd sold some products out of my office, but I'd never been in network marketing. And I called a friend of mine. I called John, and John had done really well in network marketing, made several $1 million. And I said, really, what do you got to do first? What's step one? When you all got started, isn't that the first thing you wondered? What am I going to do first? And I asked John that, and he said, the first thing you want to do is you want to find a company. You want to find a company that you can wrap your arms around, and you want to be able to say, this is my company. Trevor, this is my company. Marjorie, this is my company. Char. That's what I went looking for. And what I liked about what I heard with Sizzle was that here was a man who had started with $100, and he'd built a $1 billion company. And all of a sudden, because of a divorce, because of life situations, he got to start over, right? And that's how it really was. He got to start over. But this time, instead of starting with $100, he's starting with hundreds of millions of dollars. And so if he took $100 and built it into a $1 billion company, what can he do with $100 million? And that's what I thought. I thought, $100 to $1 billion, $100 million, how big can that be? Right? And that's what went through my head. And I started looking at the products, and as most of you know, I'm a product guy. I love products. I mean, if I say, Shar, here's a product, I want you to take it, and I want to be able to tell her what it's going to do, I want it to be able to do what I tell her it's going to do. Because long after a company's gone, she's not going to go back and say, oh, that company made products that didn't work. What's she going to say? She's going to point the finger at me. So I had to have a company that had products that worked. And so that's how I ended up where I'm at now. And what I found out with network marketing is that I love it. It's 57 below zero when I left home. I'm here. Everybody said, oh, Kurt, it's going to be so hot, you're not going to be able to take it. I'll tell you what, I was over there at your big red rock out in the center of the country, and I was walking around, and everybody was saying, oh, it's so hot, you got to take water with you. And I'm thinking, this is just perfect for me. So I love being here. I was here last year, and I loved seeing your country, and this year I got to see more of it. I'm already planning next year I'm going to come for 6 weeks. So you guys got to put up with me a little bit longer. But as Katie and I and Trevor were trying to figure out, what am I going to come down here and talk about this year? Aging is really something fascinating, right? Have you noticed that as you get older, you look in the mirror and you look different? Right? From 20 years ago, have you noticed you look different? Have you noticed that you feel different? And did you notice, like, when you turned 50, people started saying, oh, it's just age? Whoever said you had to feel old? Right? Who said you had to age as you got old? Whoever told you that, right? Have you ever thought about that? You think of some other creatures, living creatures, they don't show signs of aging. Like bacteria, for example, right? And I don't know if I want to say born, but bacteria are hatched or whatever they are. And then they have a lifespan, they have a certain lifespan, but 10 days later when they die, they look identical to the day they were born. They don't change. Why do we? Have you ever thought about that? I mean, really thought about it? And you start asking yourself these questions. I lay awake at night. Katie knows a lot of nights I don't sleep. I just lay there and I ask these questions, and I ask these questions myself. And you know what happens when you start asking your brain questions? All of a sudden you start finding answers, right? And so when I'm looking at what we have with Sizzle, it just totally amazes me, the things that we have. And one of the big things that I talk about with network marketing, probably the most important thing about network marketing is opportunity. If your opportunity isn't there, it doesn't matter how good the products are, right? Computers are amazing. If you started a computer company today, do you have an opportunity to make a lot of money?
Yeah, but I won't be much good at
The market's flooded. But with what we have here, the market's wide open. As I've been in your country for the last 2 weeks talking to people about Sizzle, I don't run into a lot of people that know about it, but you have one advantage that I don't. Most people in Australia at least know the Mauer name. So that's an advantage you have here. So I want to talk about anti-aging. And when you talk about aging, you inevitably talk about death. It's inevitable, right? It's going to happen. We all die. You can't change that. And as you age, you get sick, you have illness. But what if that was delayable? What if that was preventable? What if you could hold that part of it off? Wouldn't that be nice? Because I think the big thing about aging that makes it difficult is that people get sick and they start to show those signs of aging. And so if we can slow that down, if we can prevent some of that, and make it so that people don't have that economic burden. And as we look at the slide from Colorado, you can see that in 2012, 12% of the population was over the age of 65. By 2025, they're saying it's going to be 17%. And by the year 2040, they're saying it's going to be almost 20% of the population. So it's not just us getting older, it's not just us, it's everybody is getting older. And as you look at that population, as people get older, I like this pie chart over here on this side. You can see that in 1950, 16% of the population was over the age of 50. You go to 2015, 65 years later, it's up to 23%. Go down here, by the year 2050, they're predicting that it's going to be 33%. Thank you. They're saying it's going to be 33%. And then by the year 2100, 40%. I like to round things up, or round things a little bit. That's almost half of the population is going to be over the age of 50. So that's all interesting. But look at this right here in the orange. 32%. The age group of 25 to 49, you can see it's 32%. You go 65 years later, it's 35%. You buzz down here, 100 years later, 32%. You go over here, year 2100. What do you notice about that age bracket? Trevor, what do you notice about that age bracket? It stayed the same. The bracket, the people that are getting older, almost tripled, but the people in that 25 to 49 year bracket stayed the same. And what's significant about it? What would you say about those people, the people between the ages of 25 to 49? They're in the prime working age, right? So they're the ones working hard, putting the time in, contributing to the retirement plan for all of us. We've almost tripled the number of us, yet they've stayed the same. Does that tell you there's going to be a problem? I go to a lot of anti-aging seminars, and that's one thing that the world is worried about. All of the leaders from Russia and China, United States, Australia, the UK, Europe, this is a big problem because they say that it's going to be so expensive that 30% bracket, that 25 to 49-year-old bracket, they won't be able to pay for things. They won't be able to take care of us. And so the governments are saying, this will bankrupt the world. And so that's why this is a big thing. That's why we're seeing that a lot of people are talking about it. And if we look at lifespan versus health span, a lot of people haven't heard the term health span. I talked about it last year. And Katie and I, Trevor, we've talked about it on some of the conference calls, we've talked about health span. But if you go online and you do the number of searches that are done each day on lifespan, you're going to be amazed. Millions of searches every day on lifespan. People want to know, how do I live longer? But isn't it the health span that's the important part? Wouldn't you rather live 80 years healthy until the last day than 110 years and you're sick for 30% of your life? Isn't that more important? And so all of a sudden now, in the last 5 years, we're seeing people searching health span. The researchers, the scientists. I went to a seminar in Florida, and that's what they were talking about. But you look at lifespan versus health span. The blue is how many years people are healthy. The red is how many years people stay alive. 20% of their life, they've got major things going on with them. And they're not healthy. They're not healthy. They have a lot of different problems. By raise of hand, who here is over the age of 50? That's why you're here. You want to find out how to stay healthy. Who's over the age of 55? A lot of you still have your hands up. Who's over the age of 60? 65. This is when these diseases hit. And you start looking, heart disease, lung cancer, lung problems, strokes, respiratory infections, Alzheimer's, diabetes, colorectal cancer, breast cancer, prostate cancer. Did you know that in 2017, it was the first year that cancer actually passed heart disease as being the #1 killer in the Western world? It was the first year that cancer passed. And you start looking at these diseases. When I look at them, I look at 10 preventable diseases. These are the top 10 causes of death, and they're all preventable. Why do we have preventable diseases causing the most death in our country? Isn't that crazy? Yeah, you start looking at that. And if you're over the age of 65, I mean, my gosh, right? You might as well get a gun and play Russian roulette. Which one you got? You hope that you get diabetes because it won't kill you as fast as the cancer. I mean, that's kind of how it is. But you start looking at that, and so as you get older, you can't get sick without it costing you a lot of money. The most expensive part of your life, as far as healthcare, they say that 80% of healthcare dollars are spent in the last 2 months of your life. 80%. So if I'm the insurer, if I'm the guy that's insuring all of you, what am I going to try and do? I'm going to try and figure out when you're going to hit that last 2 months, right? And then I'm going to cut you off. You're not covered any longer. Well, you're laughing back there. Wait till I show you some of these slides. This is what's happening in the world. This is what they're trying to do, is they're trying to figure out, how do we determine when you're on your last 2 months of your life so they can cut you off? When I was a kid, I was 8 years old in 1970, 5% of healthcare, 5% of the total expenditures in the United States was spent on healthcare. 5%. Now, it's close to 20%. In my lifetime, the cost of healthcare went from 5% to 20%. If this graph keeps going up, it's going to be at 30%, 40%, 50%. When does it get to the point to where they just go, we can't afford it anymore? At what point does it get to that point? So you have to start thinking on terms of who's paying for all of this and what are they thinking? You want to live a long time. I want to live to be 110 years old. Meanwhile, my government doesn't want me to live to be 110 because they have to pay for me. When you start looking at these costs, when I was putting these slides together, I found out that in August of 2018, just 6 months ago, the World Health Organization named aging as a disease. And I was in Brisbane about 10 days ago, and a doctor there told me, he said, well, that's in the United States. I said, no, this is a branch of the United Nations. When you think of the United Nations, don't you think of some like some parent taking care of the kids, you know, taking care of the nations, you know, don't fight, don't steal his sandwich, right? Things like that. That's what the United Nations are. But the United Nations is actually the ones that named aging as a disease. And that's important because if aging as a disease, and they determine that you're in your last 2 months of your life, what are they going to do? They're going to diagnose you as being old. And guess what the treatment is? There is no treatment. Guess what they just did? They cut you off of health care. Some people laugh and they say, oh yeah, Kurt, you're just saying that. But has anybody ever heard of the name Ezekiel Emanuel? Ezekiel Emanuel is the director of the National Institutes of Health. And Ezekiel Emanuel, he thinks that we should all be dead by the time we're 75. That's what, and he's in charge of the National Institutes of Health. And he thinks we should be dead by the time we're 75 because he said after the age of 75, we are a burden on society. We don't contribute anymore. When you start looking at this and I start connecting the dots, I like to connect dots again. A lot of times I don't sleep at night. I wake up and I think about these things. Okay, so think about it. If we don't do something, we're going to bankrupt the world. Okay? We've all agreed on that. They're already saying that at the age of 75, you're past your prime, and they want to cut you off. Ezekiel Emanuel has said that at the age of 75, he wants to cut off all health care for anybody over the age of 75, worldwide. 75 is the threshold. They named aging as a disease. Now, start connecting those dots. What's it tell you? They're making it happen. It's happening right in front of us. The world is looking at it a little differently than what we are. We're looking at how do we stay healthy. They're looking at it as we're a bunch of sick old people. And they have to take care of us. But we're doing, I mean, you're all here to find out about things, how to stay healthier longer. How many people live in Melbourne? 4 million. Where are they all? Wouldn't they like to know what we're talking about? They don't know. They don't know that eventually they're going to get cut off. Meanwhile, you're all going to be healthy. You're vulnerable to illness as you get older. And if we can extend your health span, we can prevent, we can delay the onset. And so I say, wouldn't the best way to do it? A balanced diet, figure out what to eat, supplement where the diet doesn't work, because we don't have as nutritious food today as we did, say, 50 years ago. So we have to supplement. If you don't supplement, if somebody says they can get their nutrition out of their food, I just kind of laugh at them. I go, well, you go ahead. Right? Because some really smart people say not. Harvard said that only 3% of people can get their nutrition from their food. 3%. Are you going to gamble that you're part of the 3%? Probably not. So, and then avoid the things that we know are bad for you. Don't smoke. Don't do things that you know are bad. We're here at the right time. They got a lot of great stuff. Mayo Clinic announced last summer that they're getting into the field of anti-aging. And they're going to become the leader, right? You all know who Mayo Clinic is. Oh, Mayo Clinic is a big clinic up by me, up in Minnesota. The Mayo brothers started it way back 100 years ago. And they are like one of the pioneer leaders in cancer and things like that. But now they're getting into anti-aging. And so they said that they're on like the last stages of developing a drug that's for anti-aging. Good, right? Wouldn't you think? And what's a probiotic? Well, I mean, when you break it down, what is a probiotic? It's bacteria, a man-made bacteria. Does that even make sense? What happens when you make a man-made bacteria? It's like Zombieville. It's like the apocalypse. And this is the anti-aging drugs that we have coming. Skincare. We got skincare that can make an 80-year-old look like a 40-year-old. There's some great stuff out there for skincare. I like that, right? Because when I'm 110, I want to look like I'm 60. Physical therapy, I found things that they're so amazing. My right leg was so bad they wanted to amputate my leg. 11 years ago, they said that I would never walk again if I didn't have my leg cut off. I found a piece of physical therapy equipment that most doctors still don't know what it is, and I found out about 11 years ago. I mean, this is my leg. I keep getting better. Trevor, I remember last year when we went out in the boat, I couldn't stand on that leg. I couldn't put weight. So here it is 11 years later, I'm still getting better. There's some amazing physical therapy. Surgeries, we can give people a new hip, a new knee, a new shoulder. It's amazing what they can do with surgeries. Stem cells. I work with 2 stem cell clinics in the States, and stem cells, I mean, to me, it's the future. It really is. It really is. Stem cells are crazy amazing what you can do. And just educating people on what can you do to stay healthy. You just educate them, teach them. So important because we know so much more. Nutritional therapy. Wouldn't you agree that if you're involved with Sizzle, if you're involved with it, don't we have some amazing nutritional therapy? You'll hear some testimonials tonight. It'll blow you away. It'll blow you away. Nutritional therapy and diet. We know now that in the 1960s they lied to us. You shouldn't eat so much sugar. In the 1960s they told you it was great though, right? Eat more sugar. Less fat, eat more sugar. Didn't that change? Yeah, so that's the good news. But guess what comes with good news? Bad news. When somebody says, hey, I got good news for you, don't you start thinking, oh, what's the bad news? So the bad news is that I've added up all the things that you need to do to stay healthy. And guess what? It's going to cost you between $10,000 to $16,000 a year. That's out of your pocket. Who has $16,000 a year to spend on staying healthy? Nobody has that kind of money laying around. But if you want to do things right, if you want to live to be 110 like I do, it's going to cost you that kind of money to buy the physical therapy, to do the stem cells. I did 13 stem cell injections on myself last year. It's costly. If you want to stay healthy, it's costly. But what's your alternative? Dying at 75. You got to look at some of those things. So that's where I think Sizzle fits in place. In my opinion, this is where it fits because it's a network marketing company. And people say, oh, is that a network marketing? I'm going, yeah, it is. What's the beauty of it? If it works for you, aren't you going to tell a few people? The other night I was in Brisbane. One of my friends got up and she told her story. She said she'd been doing network marketing for 28 years. She had been with another company for 28 years. And last year when I came down and talked about Sizzle, she joined Sizzle a year ago. And she decided she wasn't going to do it the way that she'd been taught to do it. She wasn't going to go out and harass people and chase them through the mall and hey, you haven't looked at this yet, right? And she said she wasn't going to do that again. She was just going to share a few stories with people. Since last February, since I was down here last, when she came and joined, she's made $13,000. She's not even trying. That's a good story, isn't it? If every one of you could do that, wouldn't you feel good about your business? If that's all you did, if all you did was made enough money that you could afford to pay for all those things that I said you're going to need to stay healthy, if you could afford to, if you could make enough with Sizzle to get your stem cells that you're going to need in the future, wouldn't that be a good thing? And pay for your products. If you could take and get all the skincare products you ever wanted, wouldn't that, and they were all paid for, wouldn't that be a good thing? That's what I like about this, is because we really do have some products that work. We get some real results. We get some real stories with people. I have a couple people that I recorded. Some of you that are involved with Sizzle, you know Bill DeFalco, and I'm just gonna play his audio that he gave me.
Of course, none of the other nutritional products I tried over those 32 years did anything to lower those levels. But here I am, showing up the lowest levels they've ever seen in 32 years, and they said, well, let's see what it looks like when you come back 4 months later for your next blood test. And I repeated the same results with the cholesterol and triglycerides lower than they've ever seen in my 32-year history at that time. I was able to get them to work out a plan, a 12-month plan to get gradually weaned off the medication and to make what they characterize in their own words as a spectacular recovery from heart disease. I'm now off all the medication, and for a guy who after 6 stents couldn't walk more than 2 miles an hour, and was knocking at death's door, and didn't think I would live to see my sons graduate from college at age 58, now at age 67, I can run 5 to 10 miles an hour on a treadmill with no problem. I'm in a great state of health, and thanks to Sizzle, I was able to just recently attend my oldest son's wedding just this past month. I lived to see something I never thought I'd live to see, thanks to Tom Brown and Sizzle International. That's how tremendous of a result I've had with this company.
So for some of you that don't know Bill DeFalco, when he was in college, way back when he was in his 20s, he went in to donate blood and they said, oh no, you can't donate blood, your cholesterol levels are way up here. This was when he was like a 25-year-old. He's been suffering from this disorder for that long. He's just said he's 68 years old, so from 25 to 68, that's what he's been suffering from, and couldn't find anything that worked. Finally, Tom came out with the Eternity product. He started taking that, and his cholesterol levels dropped right down where they're supposed to be 10 years ago. Isn't that just a great story? What if that's the only product you had? What if it's the only product you can share? How many people do you know that have high cholesterol? A lot of people. A lot of people. So what if that was the only story you had to share? But check this one out.
It was the 20th of December, and we had snow and ice, and I used to run a Saturday morning meeting for Sizzle, and I was getting ready to go, and my hands were filled with things I was taking, and I was walking over across the street to the car. But before I got there, my feet ran out from under me, and I fell face first on the cement. And not only did I fall there, I slid, because we had one little part of the sidewalk had been newly made, and I slid into the one that wasn't newly made. And all of a sudden I am lying there, and I tried to call help and things like that, and nobody comes. And I did have somebody at home who was sleeping. They hadn't gotten up. It was Saturday morning, and finally a neighbor came over and found me, and they wanted to take me to the hospital, and I wasn't going to pay a ride in the ambulance. You know,
80 years old and she won't take a ride in the ambulance because it costs too much.
you know, I can see what it looks like. And when I came in the house, you saw the picture of what I was that day when it happened. And I had all these open wounds all over my face, and my nose was pretty much all filled with blood. And I thought, you know, I got I have all the skincare, the Sizzle new skincare with the transfusion and all that, and I thought, and I had been using it, and they hadn't had it for a very long time. And the thing is that I every morning and every night I used that whole, I don't know, 5 or 6 products, and I used them every single day, twice a day, morning and night. And it started to heal right away. And then I heard later on, you're not supposed to do this on an open wound from somebody who didn't know me better. So I had done it they were all open wounds. So that's all I put on there. I never did anything else. And you could see how it healed. It healed day by day by day. And 5 days later, you couldn't even tell anything was wrong with it.
That's it, 5 days. 80 years old, slips and falls in the ice, building a Sizzle business, slips and falls in the ice on the way to a Sizzle meeting, rips her face up like that, lays there because there's no way to help her, gets to the doctor, and she decides to do Sizzle products on her face. 5 days later, it heals up. Doesn't that tell you about the power of those skincare products that we have? 5 days. And then this bottom one, normally I play a recording there to tell that story, but we've got Leanne here tonight. This is your brother, right?
Yeah.
You want to come up here and share the story?
Hi, I'm Leanne. That's a picture of my brother on the right-hand side before he started taking Sizzle products. He's a type 1 diabetic and had been for about 15 years by that time. So he just started on the age pill, and within 4 days I had a phone call from my sister-in-law saying that she was really happy and that she thinks that we've really found something this time to help Anthony. She first noticed within 4 days how his skin had improved a lot. So he's been on that now for probably about 6 months, and I do check up with him and ask him how he's going. His skin looks amazing. He says his memory's improved enormously. He looks really great compared to the first, the photo on the right. His body just looks so much more relaxed now than what it was. It was under so much stress from the diabetes. He had peripheral neuropathy, which is loss of sensation in his feet, and his feet have got almost normal sensation back again, which is wonderful news for a diabetic. So he was only on the age pill for about 4 months, and then he started on the Triangle of Life, so he's on that as well now, and he's just going ahead great guns, and I'm just so pleased. It's really nice to be able to find something that does help someone's health, and it's natural as well.
Just one question. Is he doing any skincare?
No.
This is all from an oral product.
Yeah, no skincare. Yeah, and his skin is just beautiful now. And of course, my sister-in-law asked him if she could have some of his age pill, and he said, no, get your own. So she's on it as well, and she loves it.
And how old is he?
He's 51.
51.
51. But he was starting to look I'm 60, and he was looking 10 years older than what I was, and I was really concerned about him. But now he's gone back in time.
Oh, when I saw that photo on Facebook, I thought, I got to meet that guy when I'm down in Australia. I didn't get to meet him, but I met his sister.
Yeah. And he's used to be an athlete, so he was always into looking after himself, with exercise and his diet. So when he did develop the diabetes, it was a huge blow to him.
Well, thank you.
That's all right.
Thanks for sharing. Give her a hand. Thank you. What if that's all you had? Could you build a business with that? What if that was the only 3 stories that you had to share? Could you build a business with that? There's a lot of people that you could affect their lives. I could tell you story after story after story of people that I've worked with. What I'd like to do is bring a couple people up here that said that they'd share their story and let us know. Betty, if you want to come up.
My name is Betty Wilson. I'm nearly 90 years old. I'll be 90 years old in March, and about 6 years ago I fell and hurt my leg, and it was on a Sunday, and big gash in the bottom of my leg. And I went to I couldn't go to the doctor because it was Sunday, so I went there on Monday, and he said, well, at your age, it's not going to heal properly. He stitched it, but it all fell apart. And he said it'll take months and months to heal, and probably you'll get an ulcer. So I thought, well, that's very nice. But the same day, Jenny Lovett came to see me, and she said, I think I've got a solution for you. So she told me about Sizzle. And I joined straight away, and to get the 3 products, the 3 bottles of the product. And of course they were coming from America, so it was going to be quite a long time to get them. So she knew one of the gentlemen that had a product in Ballarat, so he brought them to me on the following Friday. And within 5 weeks, it all healed up. The doctor couldn't believe that 5 weeks it was completely healed, and it's there on my leg and it's completely healed. And another story I'll tell you, recently my doctor that I've been going to for quite a while for bits and pieces, you know, skin things that you can't help getting at my age, and he retired, so I went to this other doctor. He said, oh look, I think we'll start from scratch. You'll have to have, they wired me up to get my blood pressure. I had a bone density test and all of these things. And when I went to see him the next day, he smiled at me and he said, well, he said, your results are not quite as good as the way you look. And he was so happy with me, and it's because I've been on Sizzle for nearly 6 years, isn't it, Jenny? And I swear by it's absolutely fantastic. Thank you.
Your doctor should be asking you what you're doing rather than telling you what to do, right?
Well, I'm about to give him all the message when I go back.
That's right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Jenny, do you want to come up, and I know you have a testimonial that you want to share. This on you too.
Thank you. I'll be as short and sweet. When I joined Sizzle, my brother had been diagnosed with Parkinson's disease about 4 years earlier. And of course he was on all the medications that are needed, gradually getting worse and worse and worse. And so the first things we put him on were the Triangle of Life and the Brain Vitality. So he improved greatly with that, and I live 5 hours away from him, but I'm responsible for taking him to doctors and specialists and so forth. And the doctor was absolutely amazed at the improvement of him. And we showed him the products and he said, yeah, keep using them. But over the years, in the 6 years since, with doctors and specialists, they're all saying to Maury and I, he should be in a home, he should have dementia. But about nearly 18 months ago, he had a dreadful fall. At that stage, he was falling perhaps 3-4 times a week. And he lives on his own. He's 79 years old. He cooks, he cleans, he does everything himself. So anyway, it was very, very worrying for the whole family. So I'd started him on the age pill, and when it first came out, and he was only on it 3 days, and he did have a fall. And he ended up in hospital with 6 broken ribs down one side and a broken arm in 3 places. And he'd had that for a fortnight before I saw him. He'd struggled with that on his own without telling anybody. He ended up in hospital for 3 months. And we got him out, and a lot of to do, and of course we thought he'd be ending up in a home. He was on a walking frame with wheels, just shuffling along. Dreadful, and we really thought he was on the downhill track. Got him back on the age pill. Within 3 days he noticed a difference. Cut a long story short there, he's been on that age pill ever since it came out. And I take him, as I said, to the specialist and so forth. And the last time I took him, the specialist stands at the end of the corridor and watches him walk towards him. And he's shaking his head. We get into the room and he said, this is absolutely amazing. What are you doing? And we told him, and he normally sees Maury every 6 months. He said, I don't need to see you for 12 months. He has not, I beg your pardon, he had 1 fall in 12 months where he was having 2 and 3 and 4 a week. He only fell because he tripped. You ought to see him. You spoke about the skin, the beautiful complexion. He looks so healthy. He's still doing everything for himself at 79 years old, and really he should be in a home with dementia, and I put it all down to the Sizzle products. We cannot wait to get the hydrogen water into him. Absolutely a magic. So thank you.
Thank you. And then Tony, you want to come on up? This is a great story as well. I'll give you that, and I'm going to hang this on you.
I've got a loud voice. Okay.
You got a loud voice.
Yeah, my mother said I had a loud voice.
Hi,
everyone. My name is Tony. I'll try to keep it short. I've been exposed to toxic black mold in the house that I was living in for 11 years. I have deformities of my hands. It's caused an autoimmune disease. It's caused a condition called CRPS, complex regional pain syndrome. So the pain in my hands has been horrendous. Pain clinics tried to put me onto Lyrica, gabapentin, and really strong medications. My dear friend Tracy got me onto the H pill 8 months ago, and my pain is reduced by 90%. I still have spasticity in my hands, but I don't get the bad spasms or the pain. The mould prevented my body from absorbing calcium, so I've lost all my teeth because of the mould, and therefore they're abscessing really badly. Since I've been on the H pill, I've had no abscesses. I had a large cyst in my face that wouldn't go away, so we thought we'd try the Terminator, put it on a Band-Aid, put it on there. It's been there for 8 years, came out 3 days ago. Finally just drew the cyst out to the surface, and I can't tell you how amazing it is to not have to go through the pains that I've been going through with this, because the mould is still in my body. There's no really real way of finding the mould in the body or getting rid of it, and I attribute my progression without Western medicine to the H pill, and I'm very grateful for it. Thank you, Judy.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for those great testimonials. You know, I've gone across your country here, and I've heard a lot of just amazing stories on what. Do I need this thing? Yeah, you want me to use it? Yeah, you would. But when I was over in Brisbane when I first landed, one gal got up. She was telling her story of fibromyalgia. Said, we've done everything we can. There's nothing more we can do. We're just going to put you on antidepressants just to help you so you could cope with it. Think about that. And just really put out to pasture. And I was like, wow. And then a doctor got up and he shared a story of a man that had Lou Gehrig's disease. We call it Lou Gehrig's disease back at home. You guys call it upper motor neuron lesions here. And he said this gentleman was 75 years old and was bedridden, and they had just pretty much cut him off. And started putting him on some of the products, and just some amazing improvements in how he could function through life. And that's the key, is that, you know, you've heard the stories that I've told, you've heard the stories that we played, you've heard the stories for the people here. We can't say cure, we can't say treat. These products don't do that. All the products merely do is improve the function of your body, so now your body can deal with the other stuff. That's all they do. That's all nutrition does. This morning, Katie and I were looking at a newspaper here. What newspaper was it? The Sun? The Herald Sun. And they had on the front page, it said that vitamin C could help diabetes. If you take vitamin C twice a day, morning and night, it could help type 2 diabetes. So we're moving in the right direction. Medicine is moving in the right direction. I've been a doctor for 33 years. Doctors are moving in the right direction. About time, right? They're only about 100 years behind us. Maybe they'll catch up one day, but I mean, they're going to use chemo for anti-aging. That still just blows my mind, and they want to have a synthetic bacteria to treat your gut. Trevor, when do you want to go on a synthetic bacteria? That's crazy stuff when you start looking at it. And so we start looking at what we have. And I stole somebody else's slide on Sizzle. I just thought it was such a good one. I mean, we really do have a knockout, wouldn't you agree? With the products that you heard, I mean, isn't that just amazing? And we start looking at all the different things. I mean, you all down here in Australia, you've known the Mowers a lot longer than I have. For some of you that are guests here tonight, the Mowers it's a family out in Utah. They got started with healthy aging way back in 1987, the same year that I graduated from chiropractic college. They were getting into anti-aging. And it all started with personal care. They wanted to find a way that they could give people personal care products for their home that didn't have toxins in them. Who thought about that 30 years ago? Not a lot of people. Then you start looking at the fact that it's a family-owned business. It's not a big corporate giant. Because a lot of times when you get involved with a big corporate giant, what are they more worried about? They're more worried about the shareholders, right? They're not worried about us, so they'll substitute things in. A friend of mine, you know, he made the vitamins for him, and He said they started out with really good stuff. They put it all together and they put all these really good ingredients together. But by the time you actually went to the store and bought it, he said you might as well drive down the road, open up the sunroof in your car, and throw them out the window. He said it was actually healthier for you to throw them away than take them. And he's the one that made them. And I remember him saying that, and I was like, that's just too crazy. So we've got products, we manufacture our own products, we do our own research. Look at this guy. He's 78 years old. Doesn't he look younger today than he did 5 years ago? He's getting younger. That's his son. His son actually looks older. And his daughter and his grandson. So they've been doing this for a while. They know some science. I've got Tom, I came down here 2 weeks ago and I texted him last night after Katie dropped me off at my hotel. And I texted him, I said, hey, people in Australia really love you. You've got to be on a conference call. You've got to address everybody in Australia. So he's going to do a live call. I think we're going to record it tomorrow. And so we'll get that all to you as well, so that you'll have Tom talking about kind of the future, what he's going to do, things he's got going on. We look at the quality of the products. I mean, there's companies that pop up, and I'm sure you've seen some of them. They take over-the-counter type vitamins, I won't name them this time, but they take over-the-counter type vitamins, and they put it into something like a gummy bear. And they try and build a huge company based on the fact that, oh, it's not another pill, you could chew a gummy bear now. I don't want just another gummy bear vitamin. I want something that's cutting edge. When I give you something and I say, this is cutting edge, this is anti-aging, that's what I want. And we've got that. We've got personal care products that are safe to use. When I give my mom a bottle of shampoo and I say, you can use this, there's no toxins in it. When I give her skincare, my mom will turn 80 in June, and she looks great. I compare her to my grandma's photo at the same time when they were both the same age. And it's just amazing how much younger my mom looks than her mom looked, because she's been using these products. Her hair color's coming back, the grayness in her hair is going away. Last year she decided not to color her hair anymore, and at Christmas time she said, look, my hair's going back to brown the way it used to be. Crazy stuff like that. We've got weight loss products that are just amazing, helping people. I started working on myself, trying to, get rid of some of those apple pies that I've eaten, and I've lost 20 pounds since Thanksgiving. I've got another 50 to go, but I'm going in the right direction. I'm going down instead of up. And then we've got products that are just good for general health. If you just want to stay healthy, if you're healthy now and you just want to stay healthy, we've got products that do that too. You don't have to get involved because you have Parkinson's. You don't have to get involved because you have diabetic neuropathy. You don't have to get involved because you have a black mold issue. You can get involved just because you want to really do prevention. I'm not going to go through all the products because we'd be here all day. I mean, I could tell you stories about every product. I could tell you how great they are. I can tell you every ingredient and what every ingredient does. I'm into science. I mean, that's what I do. But I'll talk about some of my favorites. You've heard a lot of stories tonight about the age pill. And the age pill is really based on science. They found that they can stimulate your stem cells. They can support your stem cells. That's what the science shows. And you all don't have to know that. You're not scientists. You don't want to be scientists. Do you want to know how to be a scientist? No. But in Australia, here's one thing that you can tell people about the age pill. Here's one thing that you can share with people. Your ozone has something wrong with it, right? Wouldn't you all agree with me? That's what I keep hearing, is they say the ozone has a problem. What if that's the only reason you took the age pill? So I was over in Perth the other day, and I was explaining that to somebody, and this lady stands up, and she said, oh my God, it really works. She said, I was outside for 3 days, and she said, normally I would be sunburned. She said, I just realized I never got sunburned. Isn't that crazy? And then you hear the other stories like you heard tonight. The latest product, this H2 Sticks, wow. Again, I like to simplify things for people. I want to make it simple. the H2 sticks, here's a product that it takes the most damaging of the free radicals. You know what free radicals are? Free radicals are what causes cancer. It causes aging. It causes you to wear out. And the most damaging of the free radicals are caused by something called a hydroxyl group. You don't have to remember that. But what the H2 sticks, what this diatomic hydrogen does, is it converts the free radical into water. Again, what if that's all it did? Wouldn't that be a good enough product? Wouldn't that be good enough just to take it for that reason? It neutralizes all those free radicals. I could sit here and talk for hours. I've sat and listened to Tom talk for hours on that product. I mean, if you know Tom, he likes to talk. And I just summed it up in one sentence for you. It neutralizes those free radicals. That's all you have to really know about it. Katie's going to give each of you a sample of that tonight, plus a bottle of water. And what I want you to do, Trevor, you're going to help her hand it out? So she's going to give you a bottle of water and a sample of the H2. And I want you to take that. I want you to dump it in there. I'm going to tell you how to use this thing. Dump it into the bottle. And then tip the bottle up, put the cap back on. Tip the bottle upside down and just kind of let don't tip it over without the cap. And tip it upside down like that and let the powder roll into it with the cap on, and then watch the bubbles inside the bottle. And what those bubbles are is that's hydrogen being formed in your water. It's splitting the H and O, right? H2O. It's splitting it, and it's suspending the hydrogen back into water. And I want you to sit there and just watch that bottle for 5 minutes. And if you have that cap closed on it, you're going to see, like I had a bottle the other day, and I took and I capped it, and I set it down on the podium as I was speaking. And as I was talking, the bottle tipped over and fell off the podium because it got so much pressure in it. It popped the bottom out of the bottle, it pushed it down, and it rounded the bottom of the bottle. The bottle tipped over and flipped out the podium. Everybody in the audience was sitting there looking at that bottle like, what just happened? And I said, that's from the hydrogen pressure. That's how much hydrogen. And what that hydrogen does is it makes you healthier. That's just an awesome product to use. Then we've got personal care products like I talked about. We got shampoo, and we've got toothpaste, all these different things that are toxin-free. The product that got me into Sizzle is something called TSX. And what TSX is, it's based on the 2009 Nobel Prize. In 2009, the Nobel Prize was given to a group of scientists because they discovered that you could take and you could make your DNA younger. Who'd like to have younger DNA? They got the Nobel Prize for it. So again, I just tell people, if somebody gets the Nobel Prize, wouldn't you say that's probably good science? Wouldn't you probably trust that? And so many people, they just don't realize that. So we've got a product that's based on the Nobel Prize. It makes your DNA younger. I started taking that product. I was using it for 4 weeks. And I went in to get my hair cut, and the gal that cuts my hair, she said, what are you doing? I don't know, working on my cars. And she said, no, your hair's growing back. Because I used to have a big bald spot in the top of my head. I used to wear a baseball cap all the time because the top of my head was bald, and I'd get sunburnt all the time. And she said, oh no, your hair's growing back. So I got hair growing back here. I still got a bald spot, but it's not so big. Isn't that right? How many people in their 90s, how many guys in their 90s wouldn't like to have their hair back? Your hair's growing back?
Well, I don't know. I'm trying to do it. I will.
Yeah.
Not to drink it yet. They have to cap it. Tell them not to drink it. People are putting it in and just drinking it.
Oh yeah, don't drink that. Like I said, put the cap back on it, dump it in there, tip it upside down, and let that stir in there, and then let it sit in there for 5 minutes. So as I'm talking, just let that sit in there. Right, and make sure before you flip it open, put the cover on it. Don't drink it. Hey, you too. And then the transfusium. We heard the story of the transfusion, how great that was. We saw it with an 80-year-old lady, how much better her face looked.
Do you want to just demo one? just explain to people? Just going to just say what you do.
What do you want me to do?
I want you to demonstrate, like show.
Oh, okay. So Katie wants me to demonstrate this so you can see how to do it. Hang on to that for a second. Up on the top of your stick, you can see there's a little black mark. That's where it tears easily. Right? Otherwise all the powder will go flying out, yeah, like you found out. And you dump it on the floor. So just dump that in there. What's that?
Can you explain what's happening?
So as I'm dumping this in there, as I'm dumping it in, the powder that's coming out of this tube, it's mixing with the water, and immediately it goes to work. Basically, it's having a violent reaction with the water, and it's splitting the hydrogen and oxygen apart. And you can see that it's in the water.
So how long before you actually you turned it once or twice?
So once I put it in there, I'll do that until you see the water's kind of all turned that grayish color, right? Because of the minerals and the different ingredients in there. So now what you do is just let that sit.
10, 15, what's the best?
Huh?
10, 15 minutes?
5 to 10 minutes, 15 minutes, yeah. And so you just let that sit, and then you come back to it. And that'll have the maximum amount of hydrogen. Then typically what I try and tell people is that what I do is that I try and drink it within 15 minutes of when I open it. Because within 15 minutes of opening it, now a lot of the hydrogen starts to escape out. So if you want to get the maximum amount of hydrogen, mix it in, let it sit for 5 to 15 minutes, then drink it within 15 minutes. And that way you're going to get the maximum amount of hydrogen. In comparison to anything else that's on the market, most hydrogen products that are on the market, they produce 0.25 parts per million. This produces 25 parts per million. That's how much hydrogen is produced in that bottle of water. And so it's a really, really powerful product. One is all you need per day, right? So, but just wait about 5 or 10 minutes with that. And as you wait with that, I'll tell you a little bit about the Triangle of Life. The Triangle of Life it's actually 3 products. It's 3 liquid products. And the first one is fucoidan. Fucoidan is based on a extract from brown seaweed. They found that fucoidan gets rid of inflammation. And that's the main reason to drink it. Inflammation is a component of almost every single chronic health problem. But last April, a study came out that said that fucoidan, not fucoidan, you know, like the study's not on our product, it's on the extract from brown seaweed. And they found that the extract from brown seaweed, the fucoidan extract, actually reverses kidney disease. And don't we see a lot of people as they get older, they start to have kidney disease, they start to be on kidney dialysis? And they found that fucoidan reverses that. Well, I work with 2 stem cell clinics, and what they told us in the stem cell clinics was that if your kidneys are failing, if your kidneys are starting to dysfunction, what it'll actually do is it'll start to shut your stem cells down. It'll put your stem cells into senescence. And what senescence means is that the stem cells are going to sleep. So we started using fucoidan with our stem cell patients, and our results just went like that. We started getting a lot better results using that combined with the age pill. And so that's just one part of the Triangle of Life. The second part of the Triangle of Life is something called Eternity. And what Eternity is, it's resveratrol. And you heard Bill DeFalco's testimonial, how he had extremely high cholesterol, and he started taking the Eternity, his cholesterol went down to normal. It's a really good reason to take Eternity. But it also does another thing, is it repairs your DNA. Resveratrol has been found to be beneficial for the sirtuin genes, and the sirtuin genes repair the DNA. You don't have to get into a lot of science, but those are some simple things that you can learn about. And then the third part of the Triangle of Life is something called Spectromax. And what that is that's 74 trace minerals. We need these trace minerals in our body to complete the different functions that are going on. And so what this product does is it helps those functions, and it makes it so that our body can metabolically complete the different actions that are supposed to happen every single day. So just, a couple quick products that I like to talk about, a little bit of information I like to share. I probably should throw another product up there called Ripped. And I went to a seminar 2 years ago on anti-aging, and they were talking about the National Institutes of Aging. And the National Institutes of Aging at that time had spent $20 million doing studies on preventing dementia and Alzheimer's. And they found that if you work your muscles, if you continue to work your muscles, if you continue to build muscles throughout your life, you're going to lower your risk of having Alzheimer's. So if you go to the gym and you lift weights, not cardiovascular, not jumping on the treadmill, lifting weights. You have to lift weights. But you know what muscle was the most important muscle in preventing Alzheimer's? Who's got to guess which muscle it would be? Trevor, you know. No, you're wrong. That's not a muscle. I'm talking an actual muscle. The muscle's for chewing. That was the most important muscle for preventing Alzheimer's. So you want to chew your food. When you get older, when you quit chewing your food, you look at a lot of people when they get older, they start feeding them liquid food, all chopped up in a blender, things like that. You don't want to do that. You want to actually keep people chewing their food because these muscles help prevent dementia. But they spent $21 million, now it's up to $25 million, and there's 30 human studies, and we actually bought the rights to that product from those researchers, and that's what's in Ripped. So we can actually make medical claims on that product because there's 30 medical studies that are actually done on that product, which is really cool. And so we could take somebody and we can give them that, and it builds muscle. Katie and I were just looking at a magazine this morning, and it said that you have to exercise. They said if you take just 2.5 days and you don't exercise for 2.5 days, you lose 1 day of your life. Did you read that in that article? 2.5 days. If you sit and you just sit for 2.5 days, you lose 1 day of your life. Isn't that a lot? And you think of all these young kids that are sitting there playing video games and watching video games, and that's all they're doing all day long. So then we look at the compensation plan. And sometimes I think the compensation plan scares a lot of people, an 8-page compensation plan. And they go, oh, I can't learn that. I'm going to sum the compensation plan up for you because I like to make things simple so it's easy for people to explain. Our compensation plan, it pays you 25% when you bring a new person in. It gives you 7% if they come back and buy the products a second time. And it gives you 7% plus bonuses when they bring their friends. That's it. If you want to know more, we've got some detailed conference calls that we do every Monday night. The company does. I've got some YouTube videos. I know Jenny, you've probably got some great YouTube videos as well that you train people. But for most people, they just want to know, what do I get paid if I bring one of my friends over? 25%. Trevor, if you bring one of your friends in, you get paid 25%. If his friend likes the products, he gets paid 7%. If his friend brings his friend, so Trevor's friend's friend, Trevor gets paid 7% plus bonuses. That's a pretty simple comp plan, isn't it?
You know what I like about that, Kurt?
What's that?
You know what I like about that? It helps me pay for my product.
Helps you pay for your product. That's exactly it. That's what I was going to say next. Is that what if you have a comp plan that all it did was paid for you to have enough money to pay for your stuff? And what if you went out and you found 3 or 4 people, and you taught them enough that they were getting their products for free? And if you found 3 or 4 people and you helped them pay for that, not only are your products going to be free, but chances are you're going to make enough money to get a free car. Who wants a free car? A free brand new car. I've been driving a company car now since I joined Sizzle. A month after I joined, I've been driving a company car. Everybody needs to have a company car. You all need company cars. It's a lot more fun when you know somebody else is paying for it. right? So, Karen, you're going to come up and share a little story on what the comp plan does for you. Give her a round.
Hello, my name is Karen. I have been in Sizzle since 2013. I just take the products and have had since 2013 because of what Kurt has been talking about all night, so that I don't get the diseases and that I grow old and healthy. I'm a one-star master and I've been in the company, like I said. Sorry, I'm just nervous. And I get all my product for free, and I just talk to as many people as I can, and I don't push it. If they're not interested, I don't talk any further about it, but I just like talking to people. If they're interested, I'll go further with them, and if they're not, I just leave it alone. And I just think it's a wonderful company because of the skincare, the nutritionals, and everything else that they've got. It's not just a one product company. So thank you.
Thank you for sharing. I appreciate it. That's what I'm finding everywhere that I go in Australia, is that there's people all across your country who are making enough money to pay for their products. And I just think that's the simplest way. So all of you that haven't opened your bottle yet, your water should have hydrogen in it now. Before you open it, look at the airspace in the top of it, and you'll notice that there's more air in it now than there was when you closed it. That's hydrogen. So if you can open it quickly and breathe that in, don't smoke. It's hydrogen. You'll explode. I'm just kidding. But it really is hydrogen, and if you did light a match, you could probably see a little pop. But think about what that does for your body. Is it takes all those free radicals, and as you're drinking that, you're thinking, not only does it taste pretty good, does it taste pretty good? Yeah. People say, well, what's it sweetened with? It's got stevia in it. Or you guys say stevia, don't you? I say tomato, you say tomato. Right? I say carns, you say cans. Yeah. It's got an R in it, people. It's got an R. But as you're drinking your water, it's neutralizing all those free radicals. It's lowering your risk of heart disease. It's lowering your risk of diverticulitis. It's lowering your risk of having lung problems. It's lowering your risk of having arthritis. It's lowering your risk of having Alzheimer's just by drinking that water. What if you went out and you started a business and you just said, I'm only going to get into water business? Could you start a business just with water? How simple is that? You don't have to tell people, rub this stuff on your face. You don't have to say, rub this stuff in your hair. You don't have to take any extra pills. Just drink a bottle of water a day. How crazy simple is that? And that's what our comp plan is all built on. And then from there, you get people buying enough water that you can get everything else for free. 13-year-old company, the potential is wide open because nobody knows who we are. United States, if you know anybody in the United States, I'm telling you what, you've got a gold mine. You've got a gold mine up there because nobody up there even knows who the Mowers are. And it's a 13-year-old company. Tom started a company with $100 and it went to $1 billion. He started this company with $100 million. If he could take 100 and turn it into $1 billion, what can he turn 100 million into? Don't you think that success follows success? People that you know that were successful before, they might have a downturn in their life, but don't they come back up? That's what I've seen. And that's what I see with this company, and that's why I'm here, because I'm just going, this is it. We've got an opportunity, and as I travel across Australia, when I go back to the States, and I put on this presentation up there, this is where I'm sharing with people. Last year, I watched my business double. The year before that, I watched my business double. I want it to double again this year. and the next year and the next year. And your business can do the same thing. You just got to get out there and you got to share a little bit with people, share the stories, share the water with them. It could start with that. You can say, here, drink this water. It tastes pretty good. Look at the bubbles in it. Get them to look at the bubbles in the bottle, right? And you say, guess what those bubbles are? And then you tell them, you say, don't light a match. Right? And what it does is when you say something like that, don't light a match, don't smoke in here, it takes and it lowers their wall so they'll listen to you, right? Because they're thinking you're going to try and sell them some stuff. And all you're going to do is get them to laugh and look at water. So anyhow, thanks for coming. Thanks for being part of it. Thanks for being part of everything that I'm doing down here. I'll be back next year. I'm planning on a 6-week tour next year. And we'll get this video out to everybody. Katie, is there anything that you want to share? I'm giving a $25 gift certificate away for the person that brought the most guests. Let Katie know. Stand up so we can all. All right. Thank you. And you brought 4? I'm going to give you a $25 gift certificate just because you brought 4. So, thank you. That's what really makes us grow is it's the guests, the people that you bring, because now you've heard stories about stuff that you probably wouldn't have heard about, right? Excellent. So I'm going to hand it over to Katie. And Katie, thank you for putting this together, all the help from all of you, and I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Other than that, I really want to thank you for coming tonight, and I appreciate you taking the time out of your night. And I hope you got a lot of value out of it. Thank you. If we could put our hands together for Dr. Kirk tonight.
Thank you.